All right, once more, good morning to those who have just joined us. I think we're going to kickstart our webinar. We're hoping that some other persons will join us in the course of the session. My name is Ewang Atabe, and I'm the lead consultant at AECO Education Pathways. We want to seize this opportunity this morning to be able to talk to us about studying in the UK, about the opportunities that the UK offers to students, and why the UK should be our #1 destination for international education. We are International Education Consultants Agency with offices in Douala, Cameroon, Yaoundé, Cameroon, Abuja, and in Abuja, Nigeria, and in Boya. We are here to support students from across Africa who are looking at exploring international education opportunities, who see education as an investment and are keen on ensuring that they are able to get the best return of their educational investments. Our webinar today is going to focus on showing you why the UK stands out as that ideal destination that will offer international students, international education students from Africa, the best return of their educational investment. I'm going to walk you through the various areas we're going to elaborate on within the next couple of minutes, or let's say an hour, which will go through why do Africans desire to go abroad. We're going to dive deep in trying to understand why African students choose to go abroad. We're also going to look at key things to consider in choosing your ideal study destination. We'll also look at what makes the UK the ideal destination for African students. What can you study and where in the UK you can study whatever you desire to study. We're going to walk you through the step-by-step process of you being able to study in the UK. We're also going to discuss student life and work opportunities. And then we're going to tell you why, once you make that determination of moving abroad for studies, why you should consider AECO Education Pathways as your ideal journey guide for this journey. And then we're going to give opportunity for questions and then provide you some answers. And hopefully by the end of this session, we'll all be fully satisfied with clear understanding of why the UK is the ideal destination for international education. While I go through my presentation, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section. My colleague Ivana will be there to answer some of your questions while we are rushing through the presentation. And at the end of the session, we can also take our time to elaborate more on the various questions you're going to pose. If you don't want to write the questions at the end of the sessions, we're still going to give the opportunity to open your mic and ask your questions and also share your perspective. So I beg on you to give us your attention. Let's discuss and discover why the UK is the ideal destination for international education. To begin with, it is important for us to understand the key drivers why students from Africa want to go abroad. We've taken time to analyze, understand the driving force behind Africans deciding to move abroad. And we've established that beyond the so many reasons, these are the two key factors that are compelling and pushing Africans to want to go abroad. One is in search of better economic opportunities. We all are craving for a better life. We all are desiring to get the best life for ourselves, for our children, for our families, and for our loved ones. So a lot of people feel that they cannot get those kind of economic opportunities back home, and hence desire to move abroad to Western countries where they believe that there are better economic opportunities. We're going to discover in the course of our presentation if truly there are better economic opportunities out there, and of course, if they are, why the UK is in a position to offer you those standout economic opportunities. The next key driving aspect for the migration of students or of Africans is the quest for quality education. A lot of studies have been carried out, and if you look at the top universities in the world, I think we have just University of Cape Town, for example, in Africa, that's able to at least compete among some of the top universities in the world. We are not able to have the kind of quality education that so many Africans desire. So a lot of students find themselves having to move abroad because they want to be able to have access to quality education. In this presentation and in this webinar, we're also going to show you how and why the UK will give you the best quality of education that you desire. Now, for students who and persons who have made a determination that they want to go abroad for studies, there are a couple of key things that you need to consider when choosing an ideal destination for your studies abroad. You don't just get up one morning and say, okay, I want to go study abroad. And they say, you know what, I'm going to Canada. You need to be able to analyze a couple of things that will help you make the right decision for the ideal study destination. And my team and I have put together these 4 key things which will help you choose the ideal destination. The first thing is your core objective of moving abroad. In this context, we have established that it is for studies abroad. But behind that study abroad, what is the key driver? Is it the search for quality education, or is the main driving force the desire for better economic opportunities? Once you have made a clear determination on what key thing is driving your desire to move abroad, you will then be able to make clear determinations on which destination you should start narrowing towards. Then you have to analyze your ability to meet the academic entry requirements. Of course, for those who desire to move abroad for economic reasons, we have also established that for you to go out there, go to any developed country and be able to tap into the best economic opportunities that it can offer you, you need to be able to go into that country, study, obtain good quality education, obtain the right credentials, and which will then give you the opportunity to be able to compete for jobs with even the nationals and the locals of that particular country. So for those who are aspiring to go out there in search of better economic opportunities, granted, the idea is that you're searching for better economic opportunities. The road you have to take that will ensure that you're able to get those better economic opportunities out there is to go through education. Go out there, study, and once you are able to study, achieve outstanding results, go to a good school, get good certificates, you will then be able to compete for the best economic opportunities that you can be able to get from that destination. Now, you need to be able to assess your ability to be able to fulfill academic requirements for you to be able to study in that country. Studying abroad is a very complex process that basically deals with at least 2 ministries of that country. You have to deal with the Ministry of Education, of course, through the university you want to be able to study in, and then also deal with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or External Relations through the immigration. Of course, in this case, it would be the embassy that will help process your study permit or your visa to be able to access that country. So the first one you have to deal with is the Ministry of Education. So you need to be able to assess, am I able to fulfill the requirement or meet the academic requirements for me for admissions into universities in this country? I'll take, for example, a student who has completed all of their studies in the French language, cannot express himself in English, has, say, a baccalaureate, and wants to move abroad for studies and says, I want to go and study, let's say, civil engineering in the UK. The first question we're going to ask ourselves, what is the main prerequisite that almost every UK university requires? Is your ability to fulfill the English language requirements for admissions in the UK. Now, a student who has done all of their studies in French, are they able to access studies admissions directly with their baccalaureate in the UK? The answer is no. If they are not willing to take the required English language test, they will not be able to get admission. So by default, if the student is not ready to go through to ensure that they are able to fulfill the language requirements, they don't meet the requirement for admissions into a UK university. So if you are a student who says, no, I want to only go abroad and study and continue my studies in French, of course, the UK is not an option for you because studies in the UK is conducted in English language, except you want to go and study French as a subject. But of course, you will still be required to show proof of English language because you have to be able to liaise with people in the communities. You have to go to stores to buy, which means you should be able to express yourself in English. So there's a minimum English language that you have to be able to have for you to be able to meet or qualify for admissions in that country. Now, having assessed and determined that you are able to fulfill the academic entry requirements, you now have to assess your ability to fulfill the immigration requirements of that country. I earlier stated that for you to be able to fulfill your dream of studying abroad, even if it is in Nigeria, you have to fulfill academic requirements and you have to fulfill immigration requirements. Now, when you're going to Nigeria, Cameroon and Nigeria are visa-free countries, but visa-free for a short duration. For example, I think it's 30 days. Once you get into Nigeria, you're allowed to be in Nigeria without a visa for up to 30 days. After 30 days, you will need to, if you intend to stay in Nigeria for longer than that, you need to have a permit. Which means if you're going to Nigeria for studies, which often could be for a year and above, you need to be able to have a study permit. So you need to go through the immigration process of Nigeria. It is the same thing that applies for the US, for Canada, for the UK, for Australia, for New Zealand, for Germany, and any other country that you want to go study in if you're considering international education. So you need to assess what does the immigration of that particular country require for international students who want to go and study in that country. Look at their requirements and ask yourself, will I be able to fulfill these requirements? Once you have determined that I am able to fulfill that requirement, it means the destination has enabled you to take the next step of assessment. The next step of assessment is the availability of financial resources. I often say that people say at times that education is or studying abroad is very expensive. Quality education by default cannot be cheap. Anything that's good comes with a price. Of course, it sees the same thing with international education as well. If you want to go and study abroad, the idea is that you have identified that there are opportunities out there. There is a certain level of quality of education that you will get that you'll be able to get back home. And of course, that education as well comes with a price and the cost. So you need to ask yourself, well, do I have the resources that are required for me to be able to study in that country? So if you've assessed and you are able to go through and determine that you are able to fulfill all of these 4 requirements, then I think you can then take the next step towards beginning your journey in studying in that particular destination. So for anybody, you might choose not to work with AECO Education Pathways for your study abroad project, but we endorse you to actually be able to follow these 4 key elements when making a determination on a desired or a preferred country for your study abroad project. Now, let's look at what makes the UK ideal for African students. I am an African, and I know the pain and the challenges that we all go through. I know what parents, in most cases, are looking for their kids when they want them to go abroad. And we have taken time, analyzed different destinations, and we think that the UK offers you the best shot as a destination for international education. And I'm going to give you a lot of reasons why the UK is that ideal destination for international education for Africans. First, let's look at the UK versus our home country, be it Cameroon, be it Nigeria, be it Ghana, and things like that. And the first point I want us to discuss is quality versus cost of education. Now, when I look at cost of education, I actually look at the value for time as well as the value for the amount of money we're putting in respect to the return that we're going to get from all of this. If you look at global ranking of universities, how many universities in Africa actually fall among the top 100 universities? In fact, is there any university in Cameroon that's even ranked? When they are doing ranking of universities globally, there is none. Which means we are not even ranked. So that tells you the standard of education that you are able to get back home. I'm not saying that there is no education taking place in Cameroon or in Nigeria. There is. But when you want to compare it with other universities out there, the Oxford, the Stanford, the Cambridge, we don't have a place in terms of the quality that they are able to offer. So for anybody who is seeking for quality education, you should always consider moving to the UK for studies as compared to staying back home. Now, the cost of studying in Cameroon in financial terms would be cheaper than studying in the UK. But if you are spending money, it means you are doing a certain level of investment. And by virtue, you expect a return on that investment. Now, I take a student who goes to study, say, in the University of Boya, and another student who goes to study, let's say, in University of South Wales in the UK. Both of them are studying nursing. In the University of Boya, nursing is 4 years. In the University of South Wales, nursing is 3 years if you have A levels with good grades, of course. Typically, a student in the University of Boya would spend, the parents would spend maybe about 2 million francs CFA for the entire duration of their studies. For the student who is going to study in University of South Wales, we'll be looking at figures of, in the minimum, I would say, close to about 100,000, 75,000 pounds. So let's say tuition fee, 15,000 pounds, living expenses, 10,000 pounds, 25,000 pounds a year. 25 times 3 will give you 75,000. So the person in the UK will be investing about 75,000 pounds. Now, the student who is studying in Cameroon, from the day they begin their studies in Cameroon, is there any possibility of them being able to even generate some revenue while they are going to school? You will have 1 in 100 students who are able to do something to earn maybe 50,000. So in reality, we will say it's not possible. But in the UK, a student who is studying in the UK, you are allowed to work. In Cameroon, you're allowed to work, but are the opportunities there? The answer is no. In the UK, you are allowed to work 20 hours a week during school periods and full-time during holidays. The question is, are those opportunities readily available for you to be able to do a part-time job while going to school? The answer is yes. How much money can you even earn while studying? The UK will charge you should be able to earn in the minimum 12.5 pounds. That's the least you should be able to earn 12.5 pounds per hour. Now, if you're doing 20 hours a week, calculate 12.5 pounds times 20 hours. And then during holidays, you're able to do full time. So that already tells you that within the course of your studies in those 3 years, you are already able to earn some money while studying. So in the course of your studies, you're already earning some money. Now, during holidays, you are allowed to work full time. Now, if you do your basic mathematics, you realize that within 1 year, a student can actually be able to make up to 12,000 pounds in a year. Take 12 times 3. You have already recovered most of the money that you are investing in your education. At the end of your studies, once you graduate in Cameroon as a nurse, let's be honest with ourselves, how much does a nurse earn in most hospitals in Cameroon? Not up to 100,000 francs. For those who are able to pick up jobs, are the jobs even available? They are not there. In the UK, hospitals are running after you, searching for you to employ you when you graduate as a nurse. for you to be able to earn 45,000 pounds per year for your normal 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, which means you still have ample time to pick a second job if you so desire. Now, you are able to earn up to 45,000 pounds within your first year of studies, or first year after graduation, which means while the person in Cameroon is still struggling to complete their final year of their bachelor's degree, you have already recovered all the money that you invested in your education and you are making profits. So realistically, which of these actually has a higher cost? If you're a business person and you're thinking and looking at this as an investment, then you clearly understand that the idea is for you to be able to go out there and study. Secondly, the UK offers you certificates that will be recognized worldwide. Most of us study in institutions here, I don't want to call names, whose certificates are not accepted even in Cameroon. I know that the Cameroon government has as policy that private universities are not supposed to issue certificates, but we have some universities, some institutes or higher institutes who are able to issue certificates, which they know very well that will not even allow those students to be able to pick up jobs even in Cameroon because those certificates are not accepted. But obtain a certificate from a university in the UK. When you come back home, take a degree from the UK. When you come back home and you want to compete for jobs with Cameroonians who have studied in Cameroon, employers by default will prioritize those who have studied in the UK over you. So the certificates are globally accepted and they will open you doors home than local certificates will do. We've already analyzed the return of investment. By default, you are sure you're at least 98% sure of your return on investment. In Cameroon, you are never sure of your return on investment, of your educational investment. And then, of course, access to a global network. We often say that your network is your net worth. You go to the UK today to study, you will meet students from almost every other country in the world. You sit in class, you are seated in a classroom, and you are seated with students from about 60 other destinations. But go to UB, for example, Amphi 2000. In that entire classroom, you are just with your fellow friends from Cameroon. If they try, you will have somebody from Nigeria. So your network is limited to Cameroon and Nigeria. In the UK, studying in the UK, you have somebody from US, somebody from Canada, somebody from China, somebody from Ghana, from South Africa, from Australia, from Malaysia. These people, you get to meet them. You get to add them to your lifetime network. And these are the people who become your life assets tomorrow. These are the people who will be telling you about business opportunities that you can engage in tomorrow. These are people who will be telling you about work opportunities in Malaysia that you can tap into upon graduation. So you realize that once you study in Cameroon, your access is limited to Cameroon. You study in the UK, you have access to opportunities across the globe for employment and things like that. So this already tells you that the UK is an ideal destination for studies. If you have the means, I would tell you for free that you should consider studying in the UK than studying back home. For even those who don't have the means, we're going to show you how your family can do a one-time investment and still give you the opportunity to access UK education at undergraduate level and at postgraduate level, and then you are still able to tap into these opportunities that the UK offers over you studying in Cameroon. Of course, we've talked about studying abroad and its advantages largely. So people will be saying, but why the UK? If I'm continuing study, if you have given us reason why we should choose the UK over studying in Cameroon, what about the UK as compared to Germany, as compared to Canada, as compared to USA? I'm going to give you two very simple approaches to use here. The entire Europe has one big problem: language barrier. All those small countries that you find in the entire Europe, they have their own local language. Like we have our small tribes here in Cameroon and in Nigeria. So imagine that you have to go and study and work in So. What that means is that let's consider So as a country. For you to be able to pick up jobs and service the people, if the language of work the main language of communication there is Lamso, it means you should be able to speak Lamso for you to be able to pick a job in that area, because you are required in working, you are required to serve people, you are required to serve the local population, and there is no way you'll be able to serve or service that local population if you don't understand the language. This is the big problem we have across Europe. You go to Germany, you cannot work as a health personnel if you don't have at least level C1 in or B2 in German language. You go to France, you need French language. You go to Sweden, you need Swedish. You go to Denmark, you have their language. You go to all those countries. Hungary, for example, has the second most difficult language in the world. So all these small countries, then you ask yourself, you are a Cameroonian, born in Cameroon, in South, you're originally from South, because you're born in Douala, you've spent 20 years in Cameroon, the country where your local language is widely spoken. Your parents even speak those languages, but for 20 years you are not able to speak those languages. How quickly do you think you'll be able to go to Germany, study? While you're struggling with studying, you're also able to learn that language and get to the level where you can be able to service the people in that language. So that's a very big barrier on its own. So by default, there is no competition between studying in the UK and in Europe. Europe is already a site. Now let's look at other English-speaking countries like Canada and the US. The first thing I'll tell you is cultural differences. We've assessed that language is not a problem. If you look at Cameroon, for example, we are a bilingual country. Nigeria, for example, the colonial masters were the English, and there is a certain degree of culture that we have inherited as English people. So there is no major difference in culture. You realize that there are a couple of things that fly here and there, but in US and in Canada, for example, they might not fly. Now, that might not be a big difference per se. Where the big differences actually stem in is in terms of, first, the differences in the educational system. Cameroon, our education is actually rooted from the UK. That explains why a student who studies in Cameroon, if you have the Cameroon HND or the Nigerian HND, UK universities are able to accept you for top up for the same duration, just like a Cameroon university will accept you for top up. This is the point I was going to establish earlier, that parents who don't have enough money to spend £25,000 for 3 years to train their child as a nurse in the UK, you can still send your child to study in Cameroon, study nursing in Cameroon, in some of the best schools like Saint Louis, like the University of Buea itself, like Biaka, who offer nursing to a certain level. They do their 2 years there. Once they do their 3 years, once they obtain their HND, we are able to support your application for you to move to the UK and do a 1-year top-up and obtain a UK bachelor's degree in nursing, which now gives you the opportunity for you to stay back and enjoy the opportunities that graduates from the UK have. So, but you cannot do the same in Canada. You cannot do the same in US, because our educational system is not rooted from theirs. They don't accept top-up from Cameroon for those who have HND. Neither do they accept from Nigerians, but the UK accepts that. Duration of studies. A bachelor's degree in the UK is 3 years. In the US and Canada is 4 years. A master's degree, typical master's degree in the US and Canada is 2 years. In the UK is 1 year. So already the UK stands out for duration of studies. Of course, quality of education. If you look at, for example, people tell you Canada, nobody takes out time to clearly understand the cost when comparing cost and quality of what you get in Canada as compared to the UK, for example. A university in the UK, an average university in the UK, tuition fee will be between 15 to 18,000 pounds. A university, an average university in Canada, tuition fee is upwards of 25,000 Canadian dollars, where you get to spend 18,000, 20,000, or even 25,000 Canadian dollars a year is actually certificates, diploma programs, which are largely offered by colleges. Now, why would you want to be comparing a college and a university? The ranking is not even there. So often, I know people tell you they are rushing to go to Canada. They are not going to study a full bachelor's degree. They are not going to study in a full-fledged university. They are going to study in a college. Of course, you cannot compare and rank the two. Then immigration policies. At the end of all of this process, you need to be able to ensure that you're able to fulfill the immigration policies of the respective country you want to be able to go study in. US and Canada, in fact, US, for example, they are just doing business with Africans. Because in a day, they interview 100 African students and refuse all of their visas without giving you any clear-cut reasons for visa refusals. Yet, they collect your visa fee. Why don't they, if they don't want you in the country, why do they collect your 110, 120,000 francs as visa fee? You see somebody who has every documentation and they tell you the decision is that of the consular officer. If the consular officer wakes up from a bad side of their bed on that day and they say, I am giving nobody a visa, they don't give anybody a visa like they do most often, and you cannot hold them accountable for that. Whereas, and Canada has also been the same for the last 2 years, there is no clear process. The fact that there is no clear process where you say, if you do this, and you fulfill these conditions, you should be able to have a visa, it tells me that you are dubious. It tells me that you are not sincere. You are actually playing with Africans. Whereas the UK doesn't do that. The UK offers you a very straightforward process, point-based system. Do you have your cash letter? 50 points. Do you have the proof of funds? 10 points. Do you have the required language requirement? 10 points. On 70 points, you have your 70 points. You are eligible for the approval of your study permit. Except in rare cases, if a consular or an immigration officer identifies a situation where they have doubt, they will call you in for an interview. They will interview you, they will record the interview, and if they refuse you a visa, they will tell you during the interview, we ask you this question, you answered like this, which has provided us which has not provided us clarity. As per this article stipulated in our immigration procedure, we hereby cannot issue you a visa. Very honest, very straightforward. You are sure of where you are investing your money, and you're sure that once you kickstart this process, you do what is required, you will find yourself in that destination studying and getting what you have paid for and what you are investing your time and money on. Distance from home. The UK is not far from home. I don't want to talk about football, the opportunities that are available there in the UK, which you cannot find in the US. What kind of football do they offer there? All these recreational opportunities for football lovers, you should consider the UK. UK is not far from home. A flight to go to the US is almost 1.5 million to 2 million. The UK, few hundreds of thousands, you are in the UK. Canada, the same thing. So all of these reasons that I'm putting forth to you should tell you that the UK is the ideal destination for students from Africa who want to consider international education. What you can study in the UK. Of course, just like any other country, you can study at any level. But as AECO Education Pathways, we are able to support students who are interested in high school studies in the UK. We're interested in students, Francophone students, who want to transition into English education. We will give the opportunity for you to take a pre-sessional English language course in the UK and then progress to do your bachelor's degree, your master's degree program in the UK. So language preparations is also on the table. Of course, we have career insertion programs, especially in areas like football. We have partners with Choices International, for example, that offers football training fully delivered by West Ham United coaches, where you are able to study with one of our partners like Melvin House, where they offer the NCUK Pathway program. You can study with them and then do your football training with West Ham coaches for those who want to give a try in football. So we are not telling you to abandon education. We are giving you the opportunity to run the two simultaneously. Go to school while doing your football training, and you never can tell. You just might be signed up by one first division team in the UK or other European countries. We have universities as well, like University of South Wales, who have top sporting facilities I think they are one of the few universities in the UK with a FIFA licensed training facility. These are the opportunities that universities in the UK will offer you. We also have university pathway programs for students who will not meet the required entry requirements. You might have the opportunity to do a foundation year or a pre-masters. Then we have direct bachelor's degree programs. We have direct bachelor's degree top-up programs, like I mentioned, for those who have HND. For those who don't have HND, who have done maybe 2 years, 3 years university, for those who are going to level 450, if you are tired of sitting in Cameroon and you want to move, we have done it for other students. We are able to take a transcript from the University of Boya and send to our UK universities for them to assess and tell you, James, we're going to give you 2 more years or 1 year for you to obtain a bachelor's degree as per the assessment we have done for what you have completed already from this university in Cameroon. We have master's degree programs, we have doctorate degrees and PhD programs available for students. All of this, if you are interested in studying at any of these different levels of studies, AECO Education Pathways is able to support you through the respective partners that we have in the UK, which we're going to discover in the slides ahead. Now, where should you choose to study in the UK? The UK is basically made up of, I would say, 4 different countries, 4 different islands. You have England, you have Wales, you have Scotland, and you have North Ireland. But in studying in the UK, each of these different countries or islands actually have their uniqueness. So based on what you are looking for, the kind of environment that you want to study in, we are able to advise you, maybe you should consider going to study in Wales, or you should study in England, or Scotland, or North Ireland. Now, in terms of cost and key differentiations, we are able to tell you, we start from, you can either choose to study in London or you can choose to study outside London. London is actually considered a world of its own. The cost of studying in London is extremely high. It's a city that will offer you anything you're looking at. So if you're a student that is looking for a city where that comes to life all the time, where you want to meet all sorts of people, a busy environment, then you consider the London area. If you want an area with less motion, not very much congested, you're interested in some level of serenity for your studies, you might be telling you go to a place like South Wales, go and study there. So we are here to support you. We have a full understanding of how the UK is structured, and we're able to tell you, we think this is where you go and study, this is where you get the right kind of environment that you're seeking for your studies. Step-by-step process. The first thing is eligibility assessment. We mentioned assessing your ability to fulfill academic requirements, your ability to fulfill immigration requirements, your ability to be able to meet financial requirements. Once you have assessed, of course, our team, which is all experts, full of experts who understand what studying in the UK is about, they will help you do that assessment to tell you, James or John, we don't think you are eligible to study in the UK, or we think you are eligible to study. Once that is completed, we'll then proceed to guide you or to help you submit your application on your behalf. Once you submit an application to a UK university, there are 2 outcomes. You either be refused at admission, or you get an offer. But of course, because we are very experienced and we know what we are doing, and because of the kind of relationship we have with more than 100 universities in the UK, you not even need to go through the pain of submitting an application if you will not fulfill requirements, because our team knows what is required. We are fully equipped by our partner universities, and in the process of the eligibility assessment, we know if you'll be accepted or not. If you will not be accepted, we will not even bother submitting your application. Now, once we submit your application, there are just 2 outcomes: a conditional offer or an unconditional offer. A conditional offer means you have been admitted to that university and program, but there are certain conditions that you have to fulfill. Some of these conditions will be that, okay, you have not yet fulfilled the language requirement. Maybe you need to sit for IELTS, or you have not shown proof that you passed in English language at an honorary level. Maybe you need to send a letter of recommendation. Maybe you need to show proof of where you have been working and things like that. So all of these conditions, once you submit them, the university will then issue you what they call an unconditional offer. In most cases, for most of our students, once we submit your application, if you give us all the documents that we request from you from day one, you will receive an unconditional offer letter, which means you have fulfilled all requirements for studies in that university. The next thing you need to do is payment of your tuition fee. You will now be required to pay your tuition fee deposit, which you'll be able to send to the university directly. The tuition fee deposit amount varies from university to university, depending on the policies. But from experience, it will often range from £2,000 to up to 50% of your first year tuition fee if your program is more than 1 year. Now, once you pay your tuition fee deposit, we'll then kickstart your CAS application. CAS stands for Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies. When you are moving to the UK for studies or work, your permit has to be sponsored. Now, for those who are going to study in the UK, your studies in the UK is sponsored by the university that you're going to study in. That is why not all institutions, not all schools in the UK are able to accept international students, because not all of them have license to provide sponsorship for international students. So it is not about you just going to the internet and searching for programs from any institutions. That's why it's important for you to work with an agency, an agent, a counselor, or an admission advisor who clearly understands the process, understands which institution has sponsorship license from the UK government and which one doesn't. So once you have been able to ascertain all of this, we are able to now help to apply for your CAS letter. Now, the CAS letter, the key things that will always be required is proof of funds. You need to do a tuberculosis test, and then you need to, for some universities, you need to be able to ace your credibility interview. Once you have your CAS letter, we'll then submit your study permit application. Of course, in this process, we'll need to submit your CAS letter, your proof of funds, you pay your IHS fee, you pay your visa application fee, you show proof of your accommodation, and of course, you'll have to submit your biometrics at the visa application center in Yaoundé, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, in Enugu for Nigerians. I think they have a center in Enugu as well. And then, of course, you can then travel to the UK and enroll and start your studies. So basically, this is the process. And we are here to guide you throughout this entire process and ensure that the process is quite seamless for you. Now, student life in the UK. Let's look at the educational model that the UK uses, which ensures that you are able to get the best education that you can think of. Interestingly, for most of our institutions, if not all, back here in Cameroon and in Nigeria, most of our universities, even at the level of universities, they will tell you they are not, the model they are running is not teacher-centered learning, but in real sense, if you look at the application of it, it's teacher-centered learning, where students basically still depend on what the teacher tells them and actually limit their studies and their development on what the teacher provides for them. Whereas in the UK, it is student-centered learning, where the student is the teacher and the teacher basically guides, your lecturer basically guides your learning and development, which is often common in some of the international schools that we have within our country. In the UK, as an international student, you are allowed to work while studying. I earlier mentioned that. And in the UK, upon completion of your studies, you are eligible for a graduate route visa. A graduate route visa basically means that you are allowed to stay back in the UK without sponsorship. Remember, I said that if you want to go to the UK for studies, your visa must be sponsored. If you want to go to the UK for work, your visa must be sponsored. But as an international student, once you graduate from the UK university, you will receive or you are eligible to have a graduate route visa. This permits you to stay in the UK as at now for up to 2 years until January of 2027. If you apply for a graduate route visa upon completion of your studies, you'll be given 2 years to stay in the UK and do whatever you want. If you want to be sleeping, that's your business, but you'll be allowed to stay in the UK. As from after January 2027, if you apply for your graduate route visa, you'll have 18 months to be in the UK. So within these 18 months, you can continue to do your part-time job full-time, you can travel, you can come back, you can do anything you want. Ideally, for African students, we tell you this is the period when you should take out time now to find an employer who is able to now sponsor your visa. And once you receive sponsorship, you are now able to stay back in the UK and work. And after working for a couple of years, you are eligible for your indefinite leave to stay or indefinite leave to remain. For you to stay back in the UK, which in some other countries like Canada, they call it permanent residence, for you to be able to stay back and work in the UK. Now, if you are able to stay in the UK and work for a couple of years, you can actually be eligible for how do they call it, for citizenship for those who want. So there is a clear process, step by step, for you to move from an international student to a graduate student to a worker to a permanent resident and even a citizen if you want. The UK's process is quite straightforward. Now, why you should use us? The first thing is, we hear so many Cameroonians, so many Nigerians, so many African students saying, I gave my money to this agency and they collected my money and things like that. The first question is, did you do your due diligence to ensure that that agency is an accredited agency? That agency has the desired recognition and accreditation to be able to work as an international education consultancy agency. This is where we stand out. First of all, we are a duly registered and licensed company in Cameroon. We are an ISEF accredited agency status. You can key in that number on ISEF platform and you realize that we are a trusted and accredited agency for international education. Every counselor you see in AECO is British Council trained and accredited. That tells you that we take our time, we work according to the norms, we're able to provide you the best guidance and support that you need for you to be able to succeed. So you don't have to waste your time with all these charlatans in the market who claim that they are international education consultants. And of course, beyond everything, we have a huge partnership network. We don't just submit applications to universities in the UK. We have more than 100 universities in the UK we are in partnership with, which means these universities know us and they know them. We are licensed and authorized to act on their behalf, to counsel you on their behalf and help you in your journey towards studying in this university. These are just some of them. We have been in industry as a company. We have been in this business for the last 9.5 years. July 2026 clocks AECO 10 years in business. We have assisted so many students, which means we will be able to give you the best assistance as well for you to be able to succeed. These are a few of the partners that we decided to just put out there for you people to see. Like I mentioned, we are in collaboration with at least 100 universities in the UK alone for your international education. So whatever you want to study, where you want to study, trust me, we have a solution for you. Then, of course, a well-experienced machinery of professionals that make up our team, who are able to support you, who understand value for money, who have empathy for their fellow brothers and sisters, who will ensure that you take the right decision. This is our team that will guide you throughout this process. Like I said, we have offices in Yaoundé, in Douala, we have presence in Buea, and we have presence in Abuja in Nigeria. We are here to support you. We are here to guide you. Each of these persons you see is well-trained, certified, and understand what international education is, understands the process, understands value for money, and they are the best people to handhold you and walk you through this process. They are the people who enable you to sleep while your process is ongoing, because they will do everything possible. They will work on your behalf and ensure that they give you nothing but the best, and you're able to succeed through this process. If you go to our website, you'll see a lot of students that we have submitted, we have assisted, who are out there shining. Of course, our visa success rate for the UCAS stands at 99%. Our students are highly satisfied with the return of their educational investment. You can look at our website and see our success stories. We are the only agency currently in Cameroon, the only that I know for a fact, that currently has occasioned 3 UK pathway centers in country that give you the opportunity for you to be able to kickstart your studies, kickstart UK studies in Cameroon, and be able to progress to top universities in the UK like Manchester, Bradford, Brunel, and things like that. We are different in every aspect. We understand this industry. We understand what you guys need, and we are here to support you and ensure that you are able to succeed. No other agency in Cameroon currently runs pathway centers in country. We are the only agency that's doing that, and we are expanding across Africa. Of course, we'll discuss and look at other things like the scholarship and discounts that we are able to occasion for our students. For all our university, every of our partner university you want to go and study in, be sure that you're going to get a discount or a scholarship because you are applying through us. We are able to do that for you. We are the only agency that I know in Cameroon that is establishing an alumni community of all the students that they have assisted to go study abroad. We talk with our alumni, we organize sessions with prospective students and our current alumni for you to start networking with students who are already out there studying, for you to meet them, for them to be able to support you and tell you about their experiences and help prepare you for realities that you're going to face in the UK. We don't just send you abroad and abandon you. We are with you throughout the rest of your life. We build a relationship with you and we support you. There is no other agency in Cameroon that I know, possibly in Nigeria even, and maybe in Africa, that establishes and that has an alumni community, builds a bond with the students that they have assisted who are out there completing their studies, now working, or are still studying. We are different in every aspect. And of course, our approach is client-first approach. Our clients are a priority. We put you at the front of everything we do, and we ensure that we work for your best interest and ensure that we are able to support you and give you everything you need throughout this process. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm sure that this has taken quite some time. You probably have some questions that you want us to answer. I'm going to look at if there are any questions in the comment sections. My colleague Ivana is going to throw them out and then we're going to discuss them. Once more, thank you so much for your time. Let's discuss the questions. If you have not yet asked the question on the comment section, you'll definitely have the opportunity to open your mic and then be able to ask a question. So I think on the comment sessions, some of the questions we have there is, what does it take to study? I can see that. In any university in the UK with scholarship. So of course, I mentioned that there are scholarship opportunities available for students who want to study in the UK. We are able to discuss and avail discounts and a certain level of scholarship for our students. Of course, we don't have full scholarships for students from our partner universities, but of course, there are so many scholarship opportunities that students can be able to explore. From the Shivling Scholarship to the Commonwealth Scholarships, you can actually be able to look at them yourself and then be able to apply for those scholarships. But of course, one thing which we know is that for scholarships, you can't actually guarantee scholarship outcomes. That explains why we don't push them, and we are rather able to push our partner universities to rather occasion standard discounts for our students. Once you're applying with us, for example, to the University of South Wales, you are guaranteed a £2,500 discount on your tuition fee. If you're applying to on campus, for example, in Sunderland, we are guaranteeing you an up to about £5,000 discount on your tuition fee, irrespective of the result you have. We have negotiated that for our students. That's the difference with us. But for those who are seeking for full-time scholarship, you will have to go through the process of applying for this yourself. We are not in any position to guarantee you that, and the UK government or the institution takes full responsibility for that. You might seize the opportunity to try that for yourself. How long will I study as a human resource management? Will I study as a human resource management in order to obtain my degree? So human resource management is available at undergraduate and postgraduate level. At undergraduate level, human resource management is for a duration of 3 years for those who have the relevant A levels. For those who have O levels, you will have to do it for 4 years. With O levels, you do it for 4 years because with O levels, we are able to get you to do your foundation in the UK and then go on to do foundation for 1 year and then go on to do 3 years for your bachelor's degree. For those who have a bachelor's degree, human resource management for most of our partner universities in the UK is for 12 months, 1 year. So if you have the relevant bachelor's degree, you are able to complete your master's degree in human resource management for 1 year. What does it take to have a scholarship abroad in educational leadership? Of course, I think I've explained about scholarship opportunities and the kind of scholarships that are available already. I think that answers that. Process of getting a scholarship. Like I mentioned, for most of our universities, we have standard discounts and scholarship. You just need to apply through us and you are eligible for those discounts and scholarship. But of course, there are a couple of other scholarships that you could still get from these universities. Maybe the President's Scholarship, some universities occasion other scholarships where you might need to now apply for them for you to be able to get them. But for our students, you don't need to do anything extra for you to get the standard discounts and scholarships that we have negotiated with our partner universities. About scholarships and loans available. So earlier this year, we used to have study loans available for students from Africa, but currently the loan providers are no longer accepting applications from African students. So at the moment, that window is closed for those who want to study in the UK. Traveling for MRES programs along with dependents. Yes, we do have a couple of MRES programs that still allow you to go with your dependents. But of course, we are extremely strict, as our partner universities are, for students who want to go with dependents. We need to be sure that the objective is not for migration, but for education. So for those who want to go for MRES programs, we have them available. We have MRES programs that allow you to go with dependents, and we have MRES programs that allow you to go for dependents. But like I said, for those who want to go with your dependents, we will ensure that we do and are sure that you are an actual student and you actually want to go out there to study. What is the estimated budget to study in the UK? Now, cost of study in the UK varies from university to university, from program to program, from destination to destination, from city to city as well. But typically, there are 2 key things you need to look at when deciding to study in the UK. One, your tuition fee. The tuition fee varies from university to university. Tuition fee will often range from I would say we are able to get tuition fees in UK universities for as low as £10,000, which you can't find that from most agencies, to up to figures of about £50,000, depending on the university, the program, and where you want to go and study. And then the next thing you need to be able to look at is your living expenses. Now, living expenses in the UK is dependent on if your university is located in London or outside London. So for those who are going to study in London, it's about £10,500 or so. For outside London, it's close to about £13,000. So if you're going to study in the UK, you need to look out for your living expenses and your tuition fee. These are the 2 main budget heads that will determine your cost of studying. Now, depending on where you want to study, your living expenses in London is higher than living expenses anywhere else in the UK. And of course, depending on what you want to go and study as well, your tuition fee varies from university to university and from program to program. Like I said, we have tuition fee as low as £10,000. And the beautiful thing is that almost all our partner universities in the UK offer possibilities for students to pay fees in installments. I mentioned that the tuition fee deposit could be as low as £2,000. We have universities who will give you the opportunity to pay fees in up to about 9 installments while you are in school. So these are some of the key things that you need to look out for when assessing your budget of studying in the UK. I think in terms of, we can always help you to ascertain the cost that will be specific to you. You just need to write to us, contact any of our counselors. They'll be able to analyze what you want to go and study, where you want to go and study, and then give you a specific budget that would be specific for you. Any agency fee is out of reach, and for bachelor's English proficiency certificate is more, what's that? Agency fee is out of reach, and for bachelor English proficiency certificate must be provided or not. So the question is not very clear. The question, I think you're asking about our agency fee. One thing I will tell you is that we have never had a student who has not been supported by us because they are not able to pay our agency fee. We have lots of students that we support without them paying our agency fee. One of the key reasons why we charge agency fee is for us to make a clear determination between who is an actual student and who is not an actual student. Of course, we have bills to pay, and it would make no sense for us to work on your behalf, and then at the end, you tell us you don't have money to pay school fees to go to school. So you need to be able to engage us in a bid for us to be sure that you are committing us to do a job for you, and you have what it takes for you to be able to go through that process. English proficiency. So for students who have gone through the GCE, O, and A levels, and even done their bachelor's degree in English, most of our partner universities waive off language requirements or accept a C grade in honorary level English as proof of language requirement. We have even gone further to have partner universities who accept students whose medium of instruction for either their undergraduate studies or their secondary or high school education was in English. So if you failed English language at the GCE O level and you did your studies, just get us a medium of instruction letter from your school, and we are still able to get you admission in some of our partner universities in the UK, and they will accept this as proof of language. How long does it take to finalize everything till visa is out if you start today? If I start today, this will determine on how ready and how fast you are. A typical process like this, if you have a mature bank statement, what I mean by a mature bank statement is that the UK follows what they call a 28-day rule for your proof of funds to mature. So if you have the money that is required for your proof of funds is already mature, my team could basically be able to take, I would say, 3 weeks to a month to run through this process for you. The rest will be dependent on how fast you are able to fulfill other requirements. So if your proof of funds is mature, typically we have partner institutions where you can sit in our office, give us your documents, and in 5 minutes, we are able to get you an admission letter from that university. That's how fast we are. Typically, most of our offers come within 1 week. So it will also depend on how fast you will be able to pay your tuition fee to the university, how fast your proof of funds is going to mature, and so on and so forth. So there are a couple of factors that are not within our control, but actually depend on how fast you are able to meet requirements. But a typical process for us will take between 3 weeks to maybe 2 months, depending on the pace of the student and their ability to provide requirements as will be needed over time. How long does it take for MRES offer letters to come out? Like I mentioned, it varies from university to university. You could have offers out out in about 2 weeks, some 1 week, some more. So it actually depends on the specific university that we are applying to. So I think those are the current questions that we had on the chat. I don't know if there are any other questions. I think we have been on the session already for about an hour, 5 minutes, and I'll be happy to the last one. Okay, iPhone Pro Max 15. What is the last question? So, so I think I answered that question again. How long does it take to finalize everything? I think I mentioned already that it will determine on the pace of the student, your ability to fill conditions. Typically, for a student that's 100% ready, this process could be completed in 3 weeks from start to finish. For a student that doesn't have everything ready, and also depending on how fast UKVI reacts to your application, this process could take between 3 weeks to up to 2 months or even more. If a student takes 2 months to pay their tuition fee deposit, the process is going to stall. So it all depends on the pace of the student as well. So I would like to thank you all so much. My colleague Ivana is going to drop our contact details on the chat session for those who want to reach out to us, who have specific concerns that you want to discuss with us. Please feel free to come to us and discuss your challenges. We are here to help you. We are here to support you for you to achieve your dream of studying abroad. We remain your very loyal consultants who are there, assisted so many students, track record of excellence and success, and we will want to take up your case to ensure that we'll help you achieve your goal of studying abroad. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all a very wonderful weekend.